Hey guys, and welcome back once again. Today is June 2nd, 2019, and in this video, I'm going to be covering some of the numerology from Friday's mass shooting in Virginia Beach, Virginia, which actually took place in a neighborhood called Princess Anne, Virginia, which we'll talk about in a second. If you're new to this channel, I talk about the numerology of major shootings that are discussed in the news. So on the right side of my screen, you can see my YouTube channel where I've discussed a number of recent shootings. For instance, there was the one in Texas, in Cleveland, Texas. Earlier this week, I have a blog post on a different shooting in Virginia, which was a numerical foreshadowing of the event that occurred on Friday. We also have the Highlands Ranch, Colorado shooting from early May, the shooting at UNCC at the end of April. All of these events appear to be numerically related to total solar eclipses. And this is a discovery I've made over the past year and a half. And, we had one major total solar eclipse in 2017. That was the Great American Eclipse. And since then, we haven't yet had another solar eclipse, or a total solar eclipse, until this coming July on the 2nd. And why are eclipses important in the first place? Well, this code of letters and numbers, known as Gematria, a very simple practice that originated in ancient Hebrew and Greek languages, which is now very clear and present in today's English alphabet. These very simple numerical ciphers can be applied to English compared to dates on the calendar, and you find some pretty wild alignments, as we'll be discussing throughout this video. So in the New Testament, we begin with the Gospels and the story of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and in 3 of the 4 Gospels, it's mentioned that darkness fell over the sky at the time in which Jesus was crucified. And this appears to be the origin of the entire eclipse sacrifice code, which is present in all of these major media news story events. So this shooting, although it's being said that it happened in Virginia Beach, it actually happened in a community called Princess Anne, which is an independent city, which is a community located in the independent city of Virginia Beach, Virginia. And what really stands out about the Gematria of Princess Anne is that how it has nearly perfect overlap. 137, 187, 70, 463. All of this matches the phrase total eclipse. 137, 187, 70, and 463. This Jewish Gematria cipher based on the ancient Latin alphabetic order, the cipher that produces much larger numbers than the ordinal and reduction methods. So we even have a match in that method. Now what's interesting about 137, the alphabetic ordinal value of total eclipse, is that this is a prime number. 137 is the 33rd prime number. And this is a very significant number in the eclipse code. The word eclipse in our standard reduction method, where each double-digit number reduced to a single digit using the rules of numerology, eclipse summing to 33 in reduction. And if you measure from the date of the shooting in Virginia Beach to the date of this year's total solar eclipse, you find the shooting happened exactly a span of 33 days before. And, of course, this is the worst shooting in the United States so far this year. And of course, what are the odds? It happens 33 days before the eclipse. False flag also 33 and 69 in ordinal, just like eclipse. Also 156, which is the Hebrew value of eclipse, a number we'll talk about in a minute. So already we're seeing remarkable alignments to total eclipse, total solar eclipses. And remember, 33 is the age that many historians believe Jesus was when he was crucified. And there's some disagreement. Some people believe he was actually crucified during a lunar eclipse in the year 33 AD. So there's a lot to talk about here. Another number that's commonly thrown around is 197. This being a very significant number in regards to the moon, which covers up the sun during an eclipse. So it's interesting that we get a shooting in Virginia Beach, Virginia, which sums to 197 in ordinal. So there's a number of riddles here, not just the crucifixion riddle, but I also want to talk about this piece of prophecy. In the book of Genesis, it's discussed that there will be 400 years of servitude in a foreign land. This coming from the King James Version right here. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So, for instance, here's a book from Amazon that discusses this prophecy, the Black Hebrew Awakening. And the year in which black slaves first arrived in America in the state of Virginia was the year 1619. And here we are exactly 400 years later. So not only is this shooting in Virginia, but the suspect, Dwayne Craddock, who was killed by police allegedly during this event, this guy was a black man. And you don't often see this, you know. Most of these mass shooters in these news stories are dominantly white. Here we have a black man, and that's because of this biblical riddle that we're uncovering. So if you don't include the end date from the date of the shooting to this year's total solar eclipse, we find it's 32 days. The name Dwayne equals 32 in reduction, so does the name Craddock. So both the first and last name of the shooter, summing to 32, the number of days to the next eclipse. This means if you combine his name, we get the value of 64 in reduction. 64, the reverse value of kill. The reverse cipher assigns the number 1 to the letter Z and 26 to the letter A. Well, so not only does his name equal 64, but also his occupation. This man was a city engineer. City engineer sums to 64, just like Dwayne Craddock. Also notice how city engineer equals 134 and 190. These are relevant because the phrase solar eclipse equals 134 and 190. Again, this whole event, a numeric ritual in relation to the solar eclipse. They even gave us more alignments. The name Dwayne, summing to 77 ordinal. This is the same as engineer. Again, this man was a city engineer. It was also said that he was a public utilities worker. And check this out, 277 in the alphabetic order. This is a prime number, the 59th prime number. And the last name, Craddock, equals 59. 59, also a number that's stamped negatively on black people. Think about the word Negro, 59 and 32, just like Craddock. Blues equals 59. Also the word slave equals 59. And again, the 400-year biblical prophecy of slaves serving in America. And then finally, the name Dwayne Craddock has an ordinal value of 136. Well, this is a number found in the Gematria of Virginia Beach, Virginia. 136, reverse reduction. Now, if you're familiar to my work, this is nothing new to you, and this won't surprise you. If you are new to my videos, this is going to seem like a stretch, but I assure you, each of these videos that I do, discussing major shooting events, major news events that occur, whether it's in the United States or internationally, all of these things have relations numerically to the dates that local politicians took office. So here in America, we look at the state of Virginia, and Governor Ralph Northam who you may have heard of. He's been in the news a lot recently. He was the center of a blackface controversy, also an abortion bill that ran through Virginia that was very controversial. And then we're also going to look at the mayor of Virginia Beach, which is the largest city in Virginia. That man is named Bobby Dyer. But we start with Ralph Northam. Now, Ralph Northam assumed office on January 13th of 2018. Now, if we include the end date, we find that he was in office for exactly 72 weeks before the shooting in Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach equals 72 in reduction. This shooting, by the way, was exactly 72 days before August 11th of this year, which is a date that many of us have been looking at and discussing for a long time. There's actually a pretty deep riddle with Ralph Northam and August 11th, as it appears. And it's being theorized, very logically, I think, that August 11th could be the date of an event or something related that leads to the building of the Third Temple and the return of the Jewish Messiah, which, again, ties into the entire 400 years as slaves, this biblical prophecy of perhaps a Jewish Messiah returning to earth within the next few years. And check out how old Ralph Northam was on the date of this shooting. He was born September 13th, 1959, which means he was in his 21,811th day old. So how interesting is that? 72 days before 8/11, when he's 21,811 days old, and when he was in office for exactly 72 weeks. It ties in very, very well. What's also interesting, though, if you don't include the end date, this shooting occurred 503 days after the date he took office. In English Gematria, this is the numeric value of solar eclipse, 503. The word eclipse equals 192. The mayor of Virginia Beach, Bobby Dyer, had been in office since November 20th of last year. And look how many days that is before the shooting, 192. And check out the gematria of Mayor Bobby Dyer. Notice how this sums to 1506 in Jewish gematria. This being the same as false flag 156. Of course, numerology drops those zeros. And if you look up the numeric value of the word eclipse in Hebrew, this word right here translating directly to eclipse, oops. Notice how we get this value of 156. And again, this is because eclipses occur either 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases apart from one another without exception. Mayor Bobby Dyer also has this 73 gematria. This is found in solar eclipse 73. This shooting at a municipal center, which also equals 73. Now, earlier we talked about the gematria of the name of the shooter, Dwayne Craddock. And look how interestingly this ties in. In English gematria, we get a 1450. So this essentially represents the number 145. Virginia Beach Municipal Center, the location of the shooting, 145. Even the word municipal on its own, summing to 145. In Jewish gematria, Dwayne Craddock equals 1510. So this number represents 151. The shooting on May 31st was on the 151st day of the year. And again, something I'm also very consistent with is looking at the date that the state was admitted to the Union and seeing if there's alignments there with the event. And absolutely, this appears to be the case once again. Virginia was admitted to the Union on the date June 25th. Measuring from June 25th to the date of the shooting is 11 months and 6 days. Virginia Beach shooting equals 116 in reduction. And at one point during the day, they were telling us 11 dead, 6 hospitalized. That was a common number being reported. Also, the mayor, Bobby Dyer, who was speaking at that conference, he had been in office for 6 months and 11 days. Also, notice how the name Bobby Dyer, I didn't even notice the 145, so this again brings us back to Municipal, Virginia Beach Municipal Center, 145. But his name also equals 44, like Municipal, 44. But this is also the numeric value of shooting, 44. The word kill equals 44. And if you measure from the shooting to this year's eclipse, you get exactly 4 weeks and 4 days. All right, so before I get into the moon part of this riddle, and I don't want to drag this video on too long, but there's a lot of interesting things here. The other one being the chaos code. There's a Masonic motto called Order Out of Chaos, coming from the Latin term Order ab Chao, or cow, I don't know how to pronounce it. But I do know how to spell it, and in reduction, that Latin term equals 46. This happens to be the ordinal value of the word chaos, 46. In reduction, chaos equals 19. Order out of chaos sums to 75. This date had both 75 and 19 numerology. In the reverse alphabetic order, chaos sums to 89. And this stands out because we had a shooting at a municipal center, which sums to 89. This municipal center was in Virginia, which sums to 89. And again, this is all related to their governor, Ralph Northam, whose name also has that 89 value. And finally, the numerology of the moon appears to be pretty significant here. And we're also going to talk about how this event tied into a shooting that also happened in Virginia the prior weekend. And this one I did not do a video on, but I did make a post. So this CNN article lists all the names of the victims. And what I found is that if you take all the names as they are displayed in the article, and this is something I've done before, and it's pretty clear that there's significance to the Gematria. Over here, we see that their names, when combined, sum to 1130 in reverse reduction, 1130. Now, the number 113 is what I call the primary number of deception. All of these words, either in alphabetic order or in the reverse alphabetic order, sum to 113. So there's a clear theme in the English language with dishonesty and the number 113. Furthermore, these names in reduction, when combined, sum to 967. And 967 is a prime number. But check this out, because this is where it gets pretty interesting. These names sum to 967, the 163rd prime number. And this shooting was at a municipal center, guys. Municipal center equals 163. Now, this is where it ties into the shooting from last weekend. In Memorial Day weekend, there was a shooting in Chesapeake, Virginia. And in fact, 2 of the victims of this shooting in Virginia Beach were residents of the city of Chesapeake. And look at the ordinal value of Chesapeake, Virginia, 163. Well, 163 is also a prime number. Notice here, it's the 38th prime number. And what's so wild about this is that if you measure from the Chesapeake shooting, which was on May 25th, to the date of the eclipse, it was 38 days before. Chesapeake, Virginia, the 38th prime. Even the city of Chesapeake in reduction gives us a 38. And how fitting. Now, members of the Chesapeake community die in a shooting at a municipal center, 163. As far as the number 38, the word death equals 38 in ordinal. In extended, death equals 218. Now, in Hebrew Gematria, the word for moon has these same values. Moon in Hebrew sums to 38 ordinal and 218 extended, just like the word death in English. The 218 in this case is pretty significant. The governor of Virginia is Ralph Shearer Northam, and check out his name. In the alphabetic order, it sums to 218. Ralph Northam, just a couple weeks before this shooting, he was born in September of 1959, which means that, a couple weeks ago, he turned 21,800 days old. And now we get multiple major mass shootings in his state. I want to take one more look at Bobby Dyer, the mayor of Virginia Beach. His name in the alphabetic order, with the word mayor this is, of course, this sums to 170. And 170 is the Jewish gematria of the word moon, 170. The word sacrifice, also with this 170 value. Virginia Beach Municipal Center, also 170, reverse reduction. And this is no mistake. Look at how the word moon has a reduction value of 21, just like the date numerology of the shooting. Moon also sums to 57 and 51. And remember, these were all city workers that were killed in this shooting. Look at the word city, 57, 21, and 51. And just to cap this off and show you what I find to be another significant alignment, see how the 57th prime number is 269? Well, it was a city employee who did the shooting, Dwayne Craddock. And look at his name, 269 in the reverse alphabetic order. So no matter what cipher you look at, no matter what you're calculating in relation to this story, there's alignments to the total solar eclipse on July 2nd this year, to the moon, all between the mayor and the governor. It never ends. And think about the symbolism with the numbers of people killed. So we had 12 people killed, and if you include the shooter, it was 13 killed. And this 12, 13 number, think about the number of disciples that Jesus had, right? 12 disciples plus Jesus, the 13th. The zodiac with 12 signs, and then the 13th is the sun. Well, the moon, think about how the word moon begins with the 13th letter. It ends with the 13th letter in the reverse order. The moon equals 99, just like the number 13, 99. And 7 out of 19 years, the moon has 13 lunar phases. This is called the metonic cycle. The metonic cycle, a period of almost exactly 19 years, that syncs up with 235 lunar phases. And see how Metonic cycle equals 127? So does Virginia, 127. But what I mentioned about the Metonic cycle is how every 19 years, 7 of them have 13 lunar phases. 13th month equals 197. This shooting was in Virginia Beach, Virginia, which sums to 197. The 197th prime number is 1201. And this is the gematria of active shooter, 1201. And this is definitely relevant. Notice the 191. CNN gave us this interview from a woman named Megan Banton or whatever. Banton, 191 also. And 106, just like active shooters 160. And count the number of times that she giggles during this interview. It's disgusting. For someone who supposedly just lost a bunch of coworkers, she seems to smile and laugh it a lot off. It's pretty freaking weird. But this is the bizarre reality that we supposedly live in, where people don't grieve, you know? We've been living in this reality for several years now, and it just gets more ridiculous by the day. So the numbers of eclipses, the moon, the Metonic cycle, all of these always attributed in these events, and I think I did a decent job anyway of showing you how this applied in this shooting, which, again, was the largest mass shooting in the United States so far this year. In regards to the shooting in Chesapeake that happened about a week before the shooting in Virginia Beach, they said that 10 people were shot, 1 was killed. They were also talking about this as a Memorial Day shooting, which sums to 101. And this is what led me to the governor, Ralph Northam, whose name sums to 101. Also, Chesapeake, Virginia has gematria of 107, like the word shooting. 107. And look at the mayor of Chesapeake. Isn't it bizarre? Chesapeake also has this 218 gematria, which ties again into Ralph Northam's full name, 218. And look at the mayor of Chesapeake, Richard W. West. He's got a 218 in his gematria. Dr. Richard W. West. Yep, right there. There you see his mayor. And even his name sums to 1510 also, and 151. Remember, the shooter in Virginia Beach was Dwayne Craddock, who's got the 1510 as well. By the way, 151, that is the gematria of Jesus Christ in ordinal. So I don't know if this kind of has partly to do with the riddle regarding the name of the shooter and how he was a black man and how in reality Jesus was much more likely to be black than white. All right, guys. So thanks to those of you who jumped in and contributed in the chat here. I definitely do believe that this shooting was another staged event. And what I noticed is that when they took to the podium in Virginia Beach, the police chief, whose name, by the way, matched the date numerology, he called it an event. He said, we're about 2 hours into this event, and the investigation is still new. And then he quickly caught himself, and he said, I use the word event because it's a cop term, blah, blah, blah. And no, I mean, what that really was probably a Freudian slip. And again, you don't get any legitimate actors or actresses. You just get this woman who doesn't cry, doesn't shed any tears, giggles, has no real details. Anytime she's asked about specifics, she can't answer all of a sudden. So, I mean, yeah, does it make me a conspiracy theorist to say that this stuff is staged and fake? Yes, but that's okay, because unless we see any real evidence pointing towards the other direction, we just have to assume that this stuff is garbage. I do believe that we live in the matrix, so to speak, and, this language of letters and numbers all applies to our lives, but this is not something that was just recently discovered by us numerologists. This is something that's been known within secret societies for hundreds and hundreds of years. And to me, I believe they are attributing this knowledge through these staged events in a way that only those with similar knowledge will be able to see through. And, if I'm wrong, then perhaps they could give us some evidence that this stuff is real and that these people aren't just actors and that people from these communities are actually dying, And who knows? They could have people living in these communities living as actors for a couple years before they supposedly die. How many billions and trillions of dollars have we spent on defense here in the United States? Who knows where all that money is going? And I've long been theorizing that that money could very well be going to rogue operations within the federal government and how they could be paying people to establish different identities just so they can star in fake news stories down the road. It's for real. I mean, I think that's what's happening. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks again for watching. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I don't ask for any credit with any of the videos. Everything is free for anyone to share with anyone else that they believe might have open eyes to the psychological operations ad infinitum that we're living under. This content has faced censorship, so you sharing the work with those, again, that you believe may be awake to this part of the world, it's really the only way that this is going to get spread. So thanks to all. Peace, love, and God bless. See ya.